I think some gamers may underestimate how many new people are probably going to be coming into the Tomb Raider universe and the Tomb Raider franchise. When you look at the game and the name Tomb Raider, it's a game and franchise that has had lots of history. It's a franchise that has been a part of gaming and the gaming world for a really, really long time. And I've noticed that there's this like real, how do I put this? There's this real intense love for Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. And I don't know where that comes from in terms of like, is it because it was this thing that a lot of young people played back in the day, or a game that a lot of people played just in general when it first came out and you hold it near and dear to your heart? And so when something new came out, a few years ago now with the Survivor trilogy, and it wasn't similar to what you grew up playing, there was this part of the fan base that was like, you know what, fuck that. I don't want to play that shit. That shit is not Lara Croft. That is not Tomb Raider. The Tomb Raider I grew up with is much better because of this, and that. This one's too whiny. This one's too cryy. This one's she's doing too much. She's lame. She's not wielding the two guns. She doesn't have them big old boobs on her. Maybe there's this thing that's definitely there. I don't know what it is. And so my point is, you have the fans that really love the original. You have the fans that really love the Survivor trilogy. And then you have the fans that kind of love it all. And you're like, you know what? I love the Survivor. I love the originals. And I love everything Tomb Raider, and I can't wait for the next chapter. So you have a little bit of everything. But I have noticed that the ones that really hate the Survivor trilogy are very vocal about it. They come for you. They'll say shit. And, it's fine. Everybody has strong opinions, especially when it comes to gaming. But one question that I continuously see down in the comments below when I'm talking about Tomb Raider, especially over the last few days, has been, should I play the Survivor trilogy? Should I play the original Tomb Raider games first? Should I play any of the Tomb Raiders before the remakes start coming out? Now, I see that question a lot. And one guy in particular told me that he had never played Tomb Raider before and that he was looking to get into it, and he just wasn't sure where to begin. Now, Brand Wolf or Brandon, whatever you want to call me, isn't necessarily, I would say, the ideal place to ask this question because of my experience with Tomb Raider. Now, I'm a Tomb Raider fan, if I can call myself that. Like I said before, I've watched the Angelina Jolie movies. I played the Survivor trilogy as it was being released, and it's just kind of what I enjoy. And I had Tomb Raider, the original it might have been, or the second one on the PlayStation back in the day, like years. And, I was a kid, but I never really understood it, the story or anything. I just played the game for fun. So that's my experience with Tomb Raider. Now, on a personal level, okay, and I'm going to bring this out again. I know you guys probably are tired of seeing this, but if we look at the Chronicle Order Unified Timeline, the updated version, in 2013, well, I'm not going to get too deep into this because we've already talked about this. So this right here is the supposed chronological order timeline, right? This is the events as they happen in Lara Croft's life. Now, if somebody asks me, where should I start? What game should I play first? Should I play the original Tomb Raider first, the one that Legacy of Atlantis is based on, is that remake is based on, and then play Legacy of Atlantis in 2026? If you've never touched Tomb Raider before and you're wondering if you should play any of these games or some games before that releases, because you have Catalyst coming out, right? That's another one that you got to think about. You got to think about Tomb Raider Catalyst, which releases in 2027. Now, with Tomb Raider Catalyst, you have that game taking place after the Survivor trilogy, and you have it being a direct sequel to Tomb Raider Underworld. The director himself said that it takes many years after Tomb Raider Underworld. So it can be a little confusing. It could be crazy. Now, if you definitely want to, you could play all of the games here on screen in chronological order from now all the way to 2027. You more than likely could do that, and you would have the whole idea, the whole story of Tomb Raider and understand it right before Catalyst comes out. So you would understand any references or anything like that. Now, the problem is that I see so much in the comments below is that people argue about how the Survivor trilogy does not work with the old Tomb Tomb Raider games, and that this unified timeline is bullshit, and this unified thing is so confusing, and that it's just not gonna work because Lara Croft has a different birthday. Lara Croft's parents would be this or that. Like the details, the fine little details don't work. Now that's one of the things and one of the conversations that heavily surrounds this whole unified timeline with Tomb Raider. Now again, we're going back to the beginning. The reason that this question was even asked in the first place was because Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, which releases in 2026, is a remake of the very first Tomb Raider game that is going to retell the story and the events of Legacy of Atlantis and the hunt for the Scion. Not Scion, Scion. Now, that's a very important thing. A lot of people pointed out down in the comments below. I apologize for pronouncing it wrong. It's Scion. Now, Lara Croft is hunting for the Scion, looking for the Scion, and that's what kind of started this debate or this conversation. I would say, as a person who you already know my history, now if you disagree with what I'm going to tell these newcomers and these new people that have never played any Tomb Raider game ever, because again, this announcement of Tomb Raider Catalyst, this announcement of Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis brought so many more eyes back to Tomb Raider, brought so many people back to Tomb Raider that there's going to be an increase of players for sure. There's going to be those players from the originals that are coming back to try out Legacy of Atlantis. There's going to be those players from the Survivor trilogy that are so excited to see the next chapter. And there's going to be brand new players that have never played any Tomb Raider whatsoever. They have heard the name, they have heard some stuff, but they've never really actually played Tomb Raider. And so this is going to be their first hurrah. So they're going to think, well, what do I play first? Well, in my opinion, I think you should start with Tomb Raider from 2013. Then you should go as you kind of see it in order. In 2015, Rise of the Tomb Raider came out and Shadow of the Tomb Raider released back in 2018. So if you've never played the games and you want to prepare yourself for Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, you should do what people call in the world of Tomb Raider the Survivor trilogy, which is the release of Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The reason that you should play those three is because the direction of the game and everything that comes after basically begins there. The Survivor trilogy is the origins. It's an origin trilogy of Lara Croft becoming the Tomb Raider. She is learning to be the Tomb Raider. It is telling her events before she was officially the double gun wielding Tomb Raider with a smart mouth and very confident. So this was Tomb Raider before all that. And I think that gives you a good understanding of what Tomb Raider was. And then in 2026, you're going to see a very different version of Tomb Raider. You're going to see her grown. You're going to see her more confident. You're going to see her more smart. You're going to see all the skills that she's learned finally being put to use. So she's going to be more experienced. Now, I would say this, again, speaking to, newcomers of the game or stuff like that. That's really what this main thing is. Like, this is a why you don't need to play the originals to understand the remake. If you do Survivor trilogy first, if you love what I do here, gaming discussion, gaming news, gaming lore, story deep dives, Call of Duty, Dispatch, all that stuff, if you really enjoy it and you haven't subscribed yet, please, again, I would ask that you consider to subscribe because we have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before we bring in the new year. That gives us a little short window to try to hit that, and it's going to be very, very difficult, but I know with your help we can get there, and it would mean a lot to me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Basically, by playing those three games, you are prepared for what's coming in Legacy of Atlantis in 2026, because Legacy of Atlantis is going to work as a direct sequel to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So the events that happen in Shadow of the Tomb Raider will be followed by Legacy of Atlantis a few years later, right? That is going to be the story. It is going to, in Legacy of Atlantis, fix or retcon, whatever you want to call it, a few details that allow the story to align itself better and good with the Survivor trilogy. Now, the reason that you don't need to go after 2026, for example, and after you play Legacy of Atlantis, you don't got to go and play Tomb Raider 2, 3, 4, Last Revelation Chronicles, Angel of Darkness, and Underworld, and Legend. You don't got to go and play those because I believe that Tomb Raider 2 and 3, at the bare minimum, at the very least, are also going to get remade in the same vein of Legacy of Atlantis. I believe that's going to happen because it seems like the proper next step. It seems like the proper thing to do. We've said and compared it to the Resident Evil franchise and how they release a remake, then a new game, a remake, and then a new game, a remake, and so on. And so I do think that Tomb Raider is going to go that route. I think it's an important thing to do to try to remaster some of these games because they need to align with the story better, and this can serve as a connection. Now you can have all these up-to-date modern Tomb Raider games where you have the Survivor Trilogy, you have Legacy of Atlantis, a remake of 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, and then we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens with the following games, but I think that's what you would have to do. I think that's what they're going to do, and I think that it'll be very welcome, and it allows them to continue to work on different games while still reliving some of these amazing stories that happened before, right? That's what the goal is. And with all that being said, I personally, on a personal level, I like to wait sometimes for games to release in their newer state or in the remade state, because I can just, the controllers are modern. There's certain things that just work better for players today because of what we're used to playing. So for example, I have again been very open and honest about this. I don't really remember or I don't really remember playing the story of Tomb Raider 2 and Tomb Raider 3 or Tomb Raider The Last Revelation, for example, right? I told you guys I had the first game, I played it, but I was a kid. I didn't really fucking remember shit. So if I, on a personal level, have never played Tomb Raider 2 and 3, and I don't know the story about it, I will not go back and play it now. I don't think I would want to do that because it would, quote unquote, spoil what comes next in the Tomb Raider timeline for me. Since I played the Survivor Trilogy, I don't really know what comes next. I don't really know the fine details of Legacy of Atlantis. I don't really know the fine details and the true story of Tomb Raider 2 and 3. And if I went back and played them right now, today, or in the next month, then I would kind of know the story and I would know what to expect when the remakes come out. I kind of want to experience these games as if they were brand new stories. I titled one of my videos, Tomb Raider releases 2 brand new games. And some people were saying, well, it's not a brand new game because one of them's a remake. To me, it's a brand new game because I've never played it. I don't know what the fuck to expect. And so I'm very happy and I'm very excited to see what happens. Just like I will be with Tomb Raider 2 and 3 remake if they come out. I'm going to play those and I'm going in blind. And so I think on a personal level, if you've never played Tomb Raider, start with the Survivor Trilogy to prepare yourself for Legacy of Atlantis and then just wait. Play Catalyst. I don't think it's going to dive too deep into the back. It's going to be a brand new story, so you might not necessarily need to have all the information, and then just wait for the next remakes. That's what I would do, because I think if you go from the Survivor Trilogy, you play Legacy of Atlantis, the remake in 2026, and then you go back and play the 97 and 98 version of Tomb Raider 2 and 3, it might not feel the same, and it might not add up perfectly. It might not be what you expect it to be, so I would just wait for the remakes to release and play them in that order. That way, it feels like you have brand new games that you've never played before, and you might be getting 2 every other year, or 2 1 year and then the next year the other one. So I think that's the way to go. I think you don't need to play the originals if you have the remake. For it to make sense, you can wait for the remakes instead of playing some of these original stories. Now, I know that there will be some people that disagree with that. Let me know down in the comments. Let the people know that are asking these questions why you feel that way. But that's just my 2 cents on the topic.